it just reminds me how hard this work is. And when you're not on the same page with a parent, that can just be the worst thing.
Ugh. Or like, I think it goes both ways with the parents too, right? It's not fair for them to bring up stuff they haven't and just like bombard you with it too. Like the content of a book, right? I had that one time at a parent-teacher conference. Like, email me that.
Right.
Don't
if you've got concerns, like let's not hold that off for 9 weeks here, right?
Right. I don't know, stuff like that. It's just, it's hard.
Welcome to Hallway Conversations. We are a group of educators who have plenty of questions about teaching and learning and school culture, and we believe in the value of reflection and collaboration as we seek to keep growing as teachers. This podcast is our place for thinking out loud together about issues in education and why they might matter to Christian educators. We're glad you're with us. Welcome to the conversation.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hallway Conversations. My name is Abby DeGroat.
And I'm Dave Mulder.
Thanks for joining us in the hallway for another conversation. So, Dave, hi.
Yes. Hi. How are you, friend?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. So, we've both been away, so we haven't seen each other much in the last couple of, few days. I would say last week.
Last week.
Yeah, where were you?
So, I had the pleasure, I'm at a point in my career of getting invited to speak places, which is fun,
that.
right? So, I was in Alberta, in Lacombe, Alberta, which is about an hour south of Edmonton. I was speaking at the Prairie Center for Christian Education, their annual conference.
Okay.
And,
so just a bunch of classroom teachers together for a conference?
Probably 20, 25 Christian schools in that organization. And so it came together. I met in Lacombe at the Christian schools in Lacombe, which was wonderful. And just a bunch of folks who are passionate Christian educators. Shout out to you all, anybody listening in. We had a great time together. The theme of the conference was picking up on things I love too, right? My newsletter is Positivity, Passion, and Purpose.
Yep.
And so the title of the conference this year was Deeper, Positivity, Passion, and Purpose.
I love that.
So that's kind of
so
where we went.
you kind of keynoted.
So gave 3 talks. One oriented around what is our purpose as Christian educators, one oriented around how do we keep our passion as Christian educators, and one, hey, this work is hard, so how do we continue to feel a sense of positivity?
Say.
Correct. And, I think that's part of it too. The folks in Alberta, they've got some real hard challenges with regard to education, just generally speaking right now. So it was good. I was a little concerned, like, how's this going to go? I'm coming to with my message of positivity. But no, like, it actually landed. And it was a good reminder for me that we sometimes just need to be reminded of our purpose. Yeah. We need a jolt of passion, and we can find joy in spite of the hard stuff.
Some of that reset.
Right? Yeah. So it was fun.
Well,
How about you? Where were you at?
Yeah, so I was invited to South Bend, Indiana, for the Christian Educators Association. So Christian schools from Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. Yeah. And I've been there a few years in a row. I think this is my 3rd year doing a session there. So I just led a session. The conference title was around story. Oh, actually,
this is your
time.
thing,
It was. So, and it was Strength for Today, Hope for Tomorrow. So, thinking through our stories, and so I led a session around storytelling in like English classrooms specifically, but in education in general. How does kind of the story we tell ourselves about our students, our work, kind of shape that work?
Yeah. And that's good.
Yeah, it was. It was good. It was great to be there with them. I always see people, former students I know. My college roommate is always there. Aww. So we had a session where I think we just sat and talked, for a while, just catching up on education and life, and just a great group of people. I saw my former high school Spanish teacher. Shout out Mr. Knapper.
Oh, that's great.
Yep. So that was really fun.
That's so cool.
It was.
And I think those are the joys when we get to go and speak at places, right? Like, we know our work here on campus pretty well. And we know our students well, but to go out and be able to connect with folks across North America, getting to see, hey, we're all working on the same project here as Christian educators.
It is. It's great to be reminded, and the different flavors that can take.
Totally. Because it's always contextualized.
Places. It is. Right? Always.
Yeah.
But it's encouraging.
Fun. I had that too. So a couple of grad students in our program who are at the conference, or former students who are teaching in these schools, and just to see them, and they always want to connect and to have like our shared Dorn experience is kind of something that brings us together.
And the cyclical nature of teaching, right? So you teach them, they're teaching students. It's neat to see all of that come full circle.
It really is.
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking a little bit in my dual role as both a parent and an educator, a lot about parent-teacher conferences.
Oh, it's that season.
It is that season. So I had to make my appointments for my 3 kids. Yeah. I've got one in high school, so thinking
that's
through.
That's a new adventure, too, as a parent.
Yeah, so I'm going back to the high school where I taught for a parent-teacher conference for my freshman daughter, which is interesting. And by the way, can I just say, like, teaching and applied ed psych for adolescent students, like teaching my students about adolescent kids and then raising an adolescent kid is both humbling and interesting.
Yeah.
So it's been an adventure.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It is good. Something.
Well, it's a real thing, right?
So anyways, I'm just wondering, like, thinking back as a new teacher, I was ill-prepared.
Oh, 100%, right? Like, this is a hard learning curve.
I'm just thinking about, can we talk through a little bit?
Sure.
Kind of some ways to prep as teachers for conferences, maybe our experiences as parents, speaking into what would we love to hear from teachers. And so I just thought I'd open that up since it seems to be the season.
Right.
Yeah, as a timely topic.
As you said, like that first set of parent teachers, I was ill-equipped.
Oh, my word.
Right. And I hope our students today feel like these future teachers we're serving. I hope they feel better equipped, because I know it's something we do talk about at places in our program now.
But it's hard to train for that.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those
a bit
things,
like classroom management. You can't really simulate it.
Like we can talk about strategies, we can talk about approaches, but like, how do you get good at it? You just go do it.
You just go do it.
And part of it is,
or you do it badly and then you learn.
And I think that was really my story. Like, I think back to those first few years, I was a little shell-shocked. Like, I felt anxiety about parent-teacher conferences for a long time. And partly it was because I just wasn't good at it when I started. And leading conferences, when you are not a parent and don't know what parents kind of want and need.
Right, because, I mean, I was 22.
Yeah, exactly, right? And just trying to stumble through and well, I'll tell you about what I see in your kid. And sometimes I missed things.
Right.
Or, like, somehow I pictured it as kind of something adversarial, like it was me against the parents. And the longer I taught, the more I realized, like, hey, we both love these kids.
Right.
And push comes to shove, they love the kid more than I do, probably, right?
Right.
So,
absolutely.
like, we are actually on the same team, the same page. How do we get on the same page, maybe? That's a good way of thinking about it.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just being prepared for the fact that it could be hard, right? And sort of anticipating some of those conversations. But I also think there's ways to be proactive about it. Yeah.
So what worked for you when you think about your best conferences?
Because I did some things, I stumbled upon some things that were right and some things that I was unprepared for, right? So one thing that I noticed was how much, I remember talking to a mom about her son. I taught high school English, and I was casually mentioning something about him and his friend group. And she was, like, shocked that I knew who his friends were.
Right.
And had that level of understanding of her son's social circle.
Yeah.
And so
which is interesting.
It is interesting. And so things that I take for granted that, of course I do. Right. So just even naming, right? So here's what I see. Here's, just naming some of those things that you think should be obvious and just naming them for parents too.
I think that's really wise advice, right? And I always tried to I learned this, right? To come with a plan for what I'd like to talk about.
Right.
That takes some prepreparation
Especially,
as a teacher,
I taught like over 100 kids.
Oh, yes. Right.
Right. So you also have to know who they are.
Definitely.
That should be... I shouldn't have to say that.
Right.
But
but that is a challenge.
When you teach over 100 kids, you have to be able to know, okay, this is who this is, and be able to think of that student and not just their grade that's in front of you.
Totally.
You have to be able to conceptualize, and I hope I don't have to tell teachers out there that you need to know their names. You need to know them by October.
Who are these people in your classroom?
Right. And in elementary, that's a whole different story. I'm talking about high school, when you're teaching 150 kids. But
I felt
you have to be
though,
intentional about it.
Like, I think back to those first few years of teaching, and I literally, like, my first year of teaching, I had 172 kids come through my classroom every day. I had 172 kids come through my class. That was hard.
It is hard.
and admittedly, like I was not doing my best work at that point, right? So when I sit down across from a parent and they say, I'm so-and-so's mom, and I'm just like mentally going, which one is that again, right? Like that's not a comfortable place to find yourself.
No.
Right?
So looking at your list of parents, kind of planning through what you're going to say, looking, if they sign up or whatever, having kind of a game plan, I think is
I think that's wise, right? And if you do have concerns, like this is always the thing that I really struggle with, right? Like how do you kindly bring those up? Because I think we're not doing anyone a service by not addressing the concerns.
I agree.
But we have to do that wisely. We have to do it kindly, and to try to be solutions oriented. I think that's always something that I would strive for. I did not do this perfectly. I'm not pretending like I have this all figured out here. Okay,
right?
but yeah,
and I think asking ideas in that realm as well. Like here's something I've noticed. Do you have any ideas or any sort of context or information you could add to this for me?
Yeah. I remember a couple of conversations, some of the harder conferences, but later in my K-12 teaching career when I got better at this because you practice it, right? And to kind of name those things like, hey, these are things I'm seeing. Do you see this too at home? And to just kind of like, and sometimes the parents were like, no, that is not at all what we see at home. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I trust them to be candid about that if they're not seeing it. So then let's do a little problem solving because here's the things I'm experiencing as a teacher.
Yeah. Right? And even staying curious versus
like it's easy to go into judgmental mode, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I think that matters, and I think
do too.
Like, I put my parent hat on here when I think about like for parent-teacher conference. It's always complicated as an education professor to go into.
I know. I feel bad for these people sometimes,
right?
Because a lot of them I taught, and so that has to be intimidating.
It's got to be a little weird, right?
It is. I hope I'm kind of gracious.
Right. But to come in with my parent hat on and to just say like, hey, I want what's best for my kid here. And you spend a lot of time with my kids, so let's talk about this. Right.
Yeah. I think one of the parent-teacher moments that sticks out in my brain the most is for a couple of reasons. Number one, so it was my oldest daughter's second grade. And number one, I had taught her teacher for the first time. So this is the first time that my child had someone that I had taught.
Yes.
Because it was second grade. It was my oldest one. And I taught her in high school. And I remember she opened the conference with a prayer for Harper. And she named such specific things about her and thanked God for very specific things about my kid that I instantly knew this person knows and loves my child.
Yeah.
Right? And so framing it that way, that kind of goes to the specifics, right? Being able to name specific things that you see that are good in each student.
Right.
And start that way, I think is really important. Even before you get to the, and I'm wondering about, right? And don't just start with, they have an A in my class, right? Yeah. Conference over.
Right. To have some other human connection points that you see them as a whole human being, right? Like that is the thing. And I think especially for those of us who are teaching, well, I was going to say in Christian schools, but really in any school, right? Like I think this is what parents want. They want to know that their teacher knows their kids.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And especially if it's going to be a hard conversation, let's start with things that we can celebrate, right? I think that as a parent, that's always something that I appreciate too. When teachers can come in and say, hey, here's how I know your kid. Here's gifts that I see in your kid. Here's strengths that I see in your kid.
Right.
And then also we have other things we need to talk about, right? Because that's also part of the story. Like, I mean, that is part of the story for my kids, right?
Yeah.
But to see both sides of that and to see, the complexity of what it means to be a whole human being. And I think we often, I won't put this on everybody else out there listening, I often tell a simple story about my students, right? I get a story in my head that I'm telling myself, and to try to actually take the time to get to know them and to communicate that well to their parents when you're sitting down across from them.
Yeah, agree. And it does. It takes intentional work.
Yeah.
And thinking through things. Yeah. Any other sort of like caveats to avoid, would you say?
I mean,
or lessons you learned the hard way?
Right. So I guess maybe here's a frame. So oftentimes we would always do parent-teacher conferences after the first report cards went home, right?
Yep.
So something I tried to get in the habit of doing was I would try to write positive things if possible on the report card. And if I had something that I knew I wanted to talk with the parents about, I would try to also say like, and I'm looking forward to visiting with you at parent-teacher conferences. And then to just try to frame it that way, because I felt like it always is better to say the thing in person rather than to write it. I mean, sometimes I'm not saying you shouldn't write the hard thing, right? Like, but oftentimes it's going to actually be better off in a conversation when you're looking the person in the eyes and saying, I love your kid and let's talk about this, right? Because if it's only coming via email or via, a printed report card or something like that, it's easy to misread the tone or the intent in which those things are given. So yeah, just in general, that's something I grew in the longer I taught in K-12. Like, I don't like having hard conversations. I don't like, but we've got to, that's also our professional responsibility. We've got to be able to do that. And that was a technique. I don't know. I don't know if it always worked the way that I hoped that it would, right? But I don't know. How about you? Do you have any specific kinds of advice?
Interestingly, I was going to say, sometimes I think I waited too long. To communicate things that were hard, and those conversations did not always go well either. Right. So if
out of like a fear of the repercussions for having the conversation,
or just an oversight.
Sure.
And, either way.
Yep.
Right. So I should have probably communicated this grade to you earlier, but this is why he's at a C.
Right.
Or sort of a situation. You don't want them to come into conferences surprised by some of that stuff. Because that I don't feel like sets us up for problem solving well either. Yeah.
I know different schools handle the scheduling of conferences differently. Different schools that I taught at, like I was teaching middle school, so we sometimes would have all the teachers sitting around the gymnasium, and the parents just kind of pick and choose who they're going to go to. There's a strength to that. One thing I always felt as a teacher, there's a benefit for like the public nature of everyone being there.
Interesting. Versus in like a classroom.
Versus in a classroom where you feel like it might be there's kind of a power dynamic happening there, or you kind of get stuck. Because I had that once before when we met in classrooms, and I had an angry parent who kind of just read me the riot act for about 20 minutes. And to be fair, I deserved it. I mean, like I had not done right by her kid, and she was upset. And but also that's hard when you find yourself in that situation.
And it throws off your timetable. Like all the things. Yeah.
And that's a challenge too, right? Like I get it at different grade levels, the way the conferences play out and things like that. But I just think that would be something to be mindful of too. Like when do you need support from a colleague or an administrator or something like that? And if you are going to do the conferences in classrooms, and I say this cautiously because I am not a school leader who needs to make the plans for this, but how do you make yourself available then? Because some conferences do go sideways, and to have an administrator intervention to help out, like there's a benefit for that.
I think that's a good point, right? And I also think that especially in lower grades, setting is important. Having the conference in the place where the learning takes place, and you can look at the walls and you can see the environment. I think that adds something.
Well, there's a richness to that experience there too, right?
But it's interesting to think about how the form and function, right? How the form of the conference really dictates what happens in it.
Because sometimes we can't control for everything we'd like to control for, right? And I you know me well enough here, Fred, but my way of being in the world, I try to assume good intent. And that was true when I would meet for parent-teacher conferences too. I always want to try to assume. And yet there are times where I get burned by that because whether I implicitly am doing things untoward or the parents came in with their agenda, and then we find ourselves in that friction space. So I guess, and not putting the burden on school leaders, but maybe a way out for us in this, if the conference is getting real contentious and you can feel that as the teacher, maybe to be willing to say, I can see we're going to have a follow-up conversation, and
That's
to be okay to be okay with that, and then to even tap your administrator on the shoulder and say, hey, here's how this went, in case you hear about it.
Or would it be okay?
Would you be willing to be part of it?
Would it be okay if our administrator joined us?
That would be a great way, right? Because I think there are situations, I hate to say this, where we aren't on the same page as parents, and then to have an administrator who can at least administer that, then help us negotiate the hard conversation at least.
I think that's important. Yeah.
Friends, we know that your time is valuable, and we want to thank you for joining us today for another hallway conversation. Whether it's this day, this week, this month, or this year, we do hope that the Lord gives you what you stand in need of, and we want to thank you for the good, God-delighting work that you're doing in your schools and communities. And if you're a teacher who's going to lead parent-teacher conferences, a blessing on your head, friends.
It's important work.
Yeah, absolutely. As you go out into this week, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you his peace. Give you his peace. Give you his peace. Amen. Hope you have a good week, everyone.
Hallway Conversations was originally dreamed up by Matt Beamers and Dave Mulder during one of their actual Hallway Conversations. It's created and produced by Abby DeGroat and Dave Mulder. Our music is by Ethan Mulder. Hallway Conversations is generously supported by the Center for the Advancement of Christian Education at Dordt University. You can find out more about the good work CASE is doing at cace.org. Thanks for listening, friends.
Again, just a little bit. That's better.
Hello.
Sing a little song. All right.